Senator Jerry Moran, a Republican from Kansas who serves on the Appropriations Committee. Senator, happy 4th of July. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good to be with you on Independence Day. Kind of wish I was in Kansas with Abby today, in Kansas City at least, where I was visiting with airmen, Navy Air Force pilots yesterday in advance of the air show at New Century Airport just south of Kansas City.
Well, we are certainly glad you took time to come here. We'll talk to Abby and get you in that jumping out of a helicopter next year. Let's talk, though, because this is a day we celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We think about the greatest democracy in history. And now we have this fight over packing the court. Senator Markey and Congressman Mondaire Jones leading that effort to add justices. Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is we do live in the greatest country on earth in the history of the world. We have so much to be thankful for, and it doesn't seem that on Independence Day, the day in which we honor our history and our future, we recognize what we've come through and where we have to go, that the conversation is now packing the court. I mean, what we ought to be doing is celebrating the Constitution of the United States and the freedoms and liberties it provides, and we ought to be celebrating an independent court that makes decisions based upon the words of the Constitution and based upon the statute that Congress passes. And when we don't get the result we want from a court, the response should not be, well, let's put a bunch more justices on that court. The response should be, we honor the fact that we live in a country with the rule of law.
So your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, Democrats, by and large, it wasn't just President Biden, also Speaker Pelosi said that the justices ruled in a way that was an assault on democracy, and specifically the rulings that the Democrats are so upset about. One, in Arizona law, upholding one about a ban on ballot harvesting. The other, striking down a law in California over forcing nonprofits to disclose their largest donors. What do you say to your Democrat colleagues that say that both of those decisions are perhaps political activism that hurts voting rights?
See, I think that based upon the court decisions as I've seen them, as I've read them, it is interpretation of the law. My view is that we ought not have a court in which you can actually determine whether the justice is appointed by a Republican or a Democrat president. They ought to specifically interpret the words of the law, the words of the Constitution, as best they can, as best as they understand them. And if there's some doubt about those words, look to the intent. And when we get a result that we don't like, and clearly I've lived through courts in which I have significant disagreements with their decisions, including this court, but the results shouldn't be that we have an uproar about the Supreme Court and adding more justices. It should be that we're going to work to make the laws better. You can come to Congress and lobby. The last thing we need is for the court to be a legislative body. That's what Congress is. That's what the Constitution outlines for our responsibilities. And the Supreme Court and our justice system has nothing more to do in these circumstances except to interpret the law, even when we get a result that we may not like. If you don't like the interpretation of this Supreme Court, come back to Congress and ask us to modify the laws so that they are acceptable under the Constitution, or the laws can be interpreted as they were intended. So this isn't especially on Independence Day, this isn't the time for us to be criticizing the court. We can criticize the decision, but the justices are doing their jobs.
So that Americans understand, the court currently is a 6-3 makeup favoring conservatives. To turn that over, you would have to actually add 4. I mean, you can't add 2 or 3. You would only get a tie. You have to add 4. And to get there, you would have to end the filibuster. How likely is that to happen under this current administration, that we will see the overturn of the filibuster?
Well, the overturning of the filibuster would be a terribly damaging thing, damaging to a cause that I believe in, including the ability for people who come from more conservative states to have a voice, a greater voice in Congress, but really to protect the minority. Whatever your position is on an issue, the 60-vote rule protects you and your ability to, as a member of the Senate, protects my ability to advocate on behalf of my constituents, makes my vote count. And I would tell you that what a sad day in our country in which we would lose something that is designed to bring us together. 60 votes means that Republicans and Democrats have to agree, at least in part. We've never had 60 conservatives, 60 Republicans in the Senate. Occasionally, the Democrats have 60. Today, in this evenly divided Senate, it clearly means that there has to be bipartisan cooperation to get a result. And it brings the country together, not pulls us apart. And if we go back to, if we get to the point in which everything is decided by 51 votes, it means that everything is designed, it will be decided based upon partisan politics. The country will be further divided, and every time there's an election, we'll have new sets of laws. The Republicans will repeal what the Democrats passed. The Democrats will repeal what the Republicans passed. This country needs certainty. We see that with the Trump tax cuts that are being threatened with repeal, and they were passed by 51 votes. Now they could be repealed with 51 votes. Wouldn't we like to have a tax code that is something that people could plan their lives? And this is the theme of this conversation is the same. Process matters. The Constitution, the laws matter, and how we get to a conclusion is the way that we protect our freedoms and liberties. And in the case of the filibuster, protect people who come from the minority part of the country or have minority points of view. Bring us together.
And we wouldn't want perpetual score settling. Just in the 30 seconds we have left, I want to ask you for your Independence Day message.
Oh, I just would use this moment. I chair in Republican days, majorities. I chair the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. I would use this opportunity, and now I'm the ranking Republican, would use this opportunity to once again express gratitude to those who are serving today, those who have served in the past, and I would add, particularly at this time in our country's history, my strong support and encouragement for law enforcement.
Senator Jerry Moran, thank you very much. Happy 4th.
Thank you very much.